The wait has been long, but our engines haven't stalled just yet. Welcome back to the Formula STEM Esports Cup presented by Brightspeed Fiber Internet. You'll notice there's something a little different about what's on your screen. We're missing somebody, but my name is TJ, and with me is the one co-host for the day, Mr. Lane X.
How's it going, TJ? It's amazing to be here with you again, my buddy, and of course, everybody who's watching us. It's going to be amazing to just hop into Spa from altitude.
Time and time again, we have brought this stream plenty of racing action, and we cannot do so without our wonderful friends over at Brightspeed Internet. New Brightspeed Fiber Internet is here, the ultra-fast internet that lets everyone in your house stream, game, and do more. Don't settle for slow and unreliable. Switch to Brightspeed at go.staypluggedin.gg/brightspeedapril. That is go.staypluggedin.gg/brightspeedapril. Gotta go check that out, and thank you once again, time and time again, to Brightspeed for their involvement in this incredible opportunity for all of our students. And, well, Lane, here we are. It's our fourth regular season race, and we're going to talk a lot about the track, but first of all, we might as well hop directly into the format. What are we doing here with the Formula STEM Esports Cup? And, Lane, take it away.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing to see another week of our regular season over here in our Formula STEM Esports Cup, presented by Brightspeed Fiber Internet. As we know, we're going to have the chance to see additional drivers today, TJ, going for the playoffs, trying to lock themselves in the next phase of the championship. And we know that has been hard lately, so the points are also going to matter. And as we know, it's a very, very interesting format that allows you to obviously catch those points and move forward in the competition. And it's going to be great to see how these drivers are going to be racing today, because the GP is going to take up up to 23 racers. So it's very limited amount of positions here.
There's a lot of numbers on your screen, but I promise everybody at home, it is not as complicated as it seems. The way that it works is that depending on how many racers we have, which this week we have more than 23, so we're going to have 2 qualifying preliminary heats who will then have to try and earn their spot in the final GP. We don't know exactly how many racers will be eliminated or if we are going to have everybody, but regardless, we will update that as we go. And also, Lane, these prelim heats sometimes have even been more entertaining than the actual GP itself.
Absolutely. Some of them obviously involve, for example, the weather feature. And not only that, but the collisions, the possibilities, the changes in landscapes. And also, some of them create some expectations when it comes to the driver's performances, TJ. But things absolutely change for the GP up ahead.
It is wild that we have finally reached past the halfway point of the regular season. There is now, after today, only 2 more races to go, and not to mention it's actually only 2 more weeks before we get to what we're all fighting for, and that right there is our playoffs, and that is what this regular season is all about, is trying to earn a qualifying spot here, Lane.
Yes, you gotta finish at the top or acquire those points like I said before. So yes, it's a very interesting structure, TJ, that moves from the prelim heats, obviously going through the qualifications and qualify sessions and moments, to the GP. And as we can see, we also have the chance to see some of these additional drivers catching spots because of the roll down rule that we have, but which is related to the point structure in the end of the day.
I mean, you can see here on your screens, again, even more numbers than before, but we can help translate just ever slightly. 40 total racers can make it to the final championship race, which is in 3 weeks' time from today. And you can also see there's auto qualifier spots. It's pretty simple. If you are a good enough racer to land in the top 3, you can immediately earn yourself a spot in the playoffs as of today, as of last week, as of the week before, and we already have many racers who have taken advantage of that. But one of the most interesting parts of this format is, of course, the roll down rule. We have members like Top Racing, like No Need Dude, who have spent almost every single race in the top 3. They are actually taking playoff guarantees away from other players. So that's a storyline dynamic we've talked about many times on this broadcast. Some students are going to have to fight even harder because as those playoff spots disappear week by week, it then comes down to points lane.
You're absolutely right. And it's interesting to see that that was precisely something that happened in the Brazil GP last week, right? Some of these drivers could have stepped up and locked themselves into the playoffs if it was not for Top Racing or No Need Dude in this case. Because, for example, Mao, he was finishing well, I can tell you. P5 in Interlagos, and not only him, but for example, Squeaky Hardware finished P4 on that same occasion. So there were guys that could have seized the chance, but not yet. So they got to fight against the best drivers we have this season, right? The leading drivers who are, putting up a show so far.
If Top Racing and No Need Dude are going to keep racing as quick as they have been, then we may be in another fight for P3. Or maybe No Need Dude and Top Racing will finally have that major show-off that we've been waiting to see. But there is much more than just racing here in the Formula STEM Esports Cup. Every week, students get to learn about one particular STEM-related job in the racing industry, and also the different development pathways you can go to actually achieve that job. And last week, we got to talk about marketing specialist, Lane.
Yes, it was a very, very important job that we mentioned here. And I would say today we're going to be also talking about a very brainy job position, TJ, which is, can I break the spoiling here? It's going to be event manager. As we know, it's going to be the responsible for overseeing the race, event logistics, venue management, a lot of factors evolving and including, of course, the scheduling. It is a person, a backstage magician, if I want to put it this way, that coordinates with teams, sponsors, vendors, and a lot more than that. And not only TJ, is someone who's able to improvise if things ever go wrong or don't go as ideal.
Improvisation and freelancing is something that this specific role has been given in terms of the tags you put on it. And you can see also in that first mini sentence or two what all being an event manager encompasses. I mean, you said it very well yourself. They are background heroes. And also, individual teams can use their own event managers on top of what it says here about Formula One specifically. Every team can have their own event manager as well if there's certain activations with fans or certain driver social media shoots or stunts or anything like that. So event manager is not only just a very broad field, but a very, very creative one at that. And also in the pathways, there's many ways to get there, Lane.
Absolutely. You can absolutely focus on business, economics, marketing, foreign languages. I would say business will be the main area that could take you to be an event manager, given the connections you're going to make, given the partners you're going to meet and have to bring them together. And obviously you can go for a degree in event management. These courses exist today, aside with sports management, hospitality at schools, such as the Central Florida University. We also have the Iowa State and much more than that. So it's a very, very nice workforce path and choice here, TJ.
Yeah, we talked about very strong business majors with the marketing specialist role last week, but this week, when you talk about being an event manager, it's a similar story to what we already mentioned. Many of your big D1 university schools who have major athletic programs, they are the ones that you should go to if you want to actually pursue marketing specialists, if you want to work in graphics, or sorry, not marketing specialists, in event management. If you want to work in take up and take down, you want to work out equipment management. There's so many different aspects of actually creating an event. And Lane, me and you working with Stay Plugged In and me working in the collegiate esports scene, it's a very, very busy field.
it's a very busy field because again you can put parts together, but you're gonna have to find creative solutions for some situations and issues that are gonna come in your daily basis. And it is a very versatile brainy job, like I said before, so that's why I love it and it's special. And I think a lot of these young lads, not only the high school drivers we have here in this season, but yeah, everybody who's watching us has a chance to seize that opportunity and learn more from that from Stay Plugged In.
Well, you can also learn from professionals because every week we actually host test sessions. Obviously, we've had them every single week ever since the preseason. More specifically, we brought in professional NASCAR driver Dawson Cram, who was just a little bit on a break for a week, but he was very well welcomed back to try and make his way around Spa. And also, before I get on to what we expect each week from those sessions, one thing that I thought was very interesting, Lane, is that Dawson's best time was 1:45.9. Do we think that can be beat today?
I'm hoping someone is able to get close to that because it was a fantastic lap time, as we know, for the Spa Racetrack GP. This is a very, very good time, especially because it's also close to the record, right? To the world global record in this matter on this track. So I'm hoping to see the lads getting close to it.
Well, I hope Dawson isn't listening because his times have been beat on earlier tracks in the season, so it'll be interesting to see if maybe No Need To or Top Racing can take it. But seriously, for any sim racing enthusiast who wants to learn these tracks, and especially for the competitors who want to maximize their results on days like today towards the $5,000 prize at the end, you got to make sure you tune in every Thursday at 5 p.m. on the dot. And this Thursday, one of our pro drivers will walk you through Silverstone, which I am so excited to go to Silverstone. We'll talk more about that at the end of the broadcast. But a massive, massive thank you to Dawson Cram. Make sure that if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, you subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you don't miss a single race day or a test session. But now it's time to set the scene, Lane, because last week we got our first rainy race, and it was a mess.
See how the expectations from us as well changed. We saw some nice overtakes in the long straights, and here we have the overall standings. When it comes to the this was the Brazilian result, of course. Top Racing and No Need To leading the pack, of course. Very fast drivers, steady guys. And Top Racing, interestingly now, TJ, building a legacy, a supremacy that now gets questioned by not only No Need To, but also other very talented drivers such as Nico. We're going to talk about all of them today, but it's interesting to see James stepping up, right? He was a guy, like I said before, one of the 3 J guys that got much farther than what he presented in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, Monza wasn't very nice to a lot of the racers. There was a decent amount of crashes, a decent amount of DNFs, and Top Racing actually got crashed out on lap 2. So for him to be able to come back, even after doing an interview after crashing, because he was actually in-house with you guys, he comes back, he wins, he has a beautiful strategy to beat No Need To, and it was extremely impressive from what we believe is our best racer, but there's many, many talented racers down the way. Unfortunately, we did have a DNF in Speed Ninja, but Sater, Jakai, Monkey, all people, and Joseph as well, people who we normally have expected to be higher, but also Joseph, this is now 2 different races where he has had a race-ending either crash or spin, and it's dropped him down the grid.
And in the case of Joseph, we have to mention that he also got penalized for a severe collision with Top Racing, precisely in Brazil GP. So these collisions, these penalties, especially related to the out lap, to the exit from the lap area, usually are punishing some of these drivers, which quickly takes me to the point, TJ, that we have to see these guys stepping up, doing the homework, and making less mistakes. I think some mistakes and some wrong calls have been costing for some buddies here.
Well, I also believe that our lovely production team has the current driver standings as well. So before we preview the race day, here's a look at the total points. And as you can see, obviously those top 5 drivers have clinched their spots. There is another driver who's hiding on the other page with a playoff spot. But Lane, what's your takeaway from especially that middle of the pack? It gets pretty close down there.
It's getting super close, right? We see a very, very minimal gap of points between them. And I would say that, you know, I am especially looking into Squeaky Hardware for today, Reinforced Sigil, Mal, not only because of their positions here in the standings, but also given the evolution that they are presenting recently. Mal, for example, has been progressing, from a P10 in Austria, P12 in Monza, P5 in Brazil last week. So this is a guy that we have to keep a look at. And also squeaky hardware, as we know, doing good, getting to the P4 last week. So I mean, again, these guys are super talented, and they can definitely get there. As we move into the next page, we're going to be able to see some more of these drivers. TJ, Nico Vico stepping up again, doing so well as we know recently, but not enough. He's got to keep working.
I mean, Nico has done an incredible job and has struggled in the past race, but their very first rookie race, they showed up, simply got a top 3, and now it doesn't really matter how many points they get. They've already qualified for playoffs, so it's all about can you perfect your craft. And as for the rest of the grid, Doe Jr. and Mile both had great showcases early on in qualifying, but after that point, things got a little rough for them. But that is our driver standings, and so now, Lane, we enter not an exactly Isle of Speed race per se, to make a reference to another track, but one with many legendary moments. We are finally here in Spa.
We are in Spa, Francorchamps. It's gonna be great to see how this is gonna roll. We're gonna have the longest racetrack in our calendar, even so it's gonna be capped by only 15 laps. So it's gonna be an intriguing and interesting combination, to say the least, today, TJ, with just 2 DRS zones and a very good mix of long straights, as we know, and challenging turns and chicanes.
It is also sunny and dry, which I think for all of these racers, they are going to be more than okay with.
Oh, yeah.
Also, you cannot see it on this map right here, but from turns 1 through 4, the highest elevation climb, I believe, of any racing track in the world is here in Belgium, in Spa. And also, you will notice that, yes, there is 15 laps, but that's because we are on a 4 and basically almost a half-mile long track. Spa is a test of patience. It is a test of consistency. And in order to set fast lap times, these sectors, Lane, they are extremely long.
They're super long, and obviously for those who watch, you're gonna be seeing the drivers going super fast, for instance, from turn 4 to 5. But that's because they're gonna be obviously speeding up, going full throttle, using the DRS. But again, when you get to the first chicane, for example, the second chicane in this case, excuse me, from 5 to 7, you're gonna have to manage your way out of the turn number 7, because turn 8, I would say, it was one of the most challenging in these racetracks. It's gonna be very cool to see how the drivers are gonna be managing that. It's very scary. It goes downhill as well into the turn number 9. So again, a lot to be talked here, TJ.
Well, also, this track has quite the origin as well. I normally give Bear a lot of flack for reading the names of track designers, so I now am going to apologize early if I mispronounce any of these names. But here at Spa, it's an incredibly beautifully designed racetrack designed by Jules. Oh man, here we go. Jules there. We're gonna go with that, and then Henry Langlois Van Oppen using public roads between the towns of Francorchamps, Malmedy, and Stavlat. We're gonna go with that to create an amazing, and it's 15 kilometers for those of you who like the other form of measurement, taking in forests and rolling hills of the beautiful Ardennes region in Belgium. The track was then redeveloped in 1979, and although the new circuit is only half of the original length, and yes, you did hear me right, this track is only half the length of the former one, it is still the longest on the current Formula 1 calendar. It is 7 kilometers flat. And again, 4.352 miles, for those of you who are wondering. And then in terms of how the track races, many Formula 1 racing fans love this track because, yes, there is a decent amount of speed to be built up. There is a very long straight from turn 1 to 5, but it is also a push of the cars and the capabilities. I mean, with the inclination from turns 1 to 5, your car has to make sure it can stay as glued to the ground as physically possible, or else as that front and rear wing start to lift up, you're going to lose a lot of speed, Lane.
Oh yeah, and I just have to say, I loved your French. Your pronunciation is amazing, man. You should consider visiting Paris. I love that. You did very well. And again, you're absolutely right. The elevation is going to be a challenge. It's going to be interesting to see, especially the turns 3 to 5, excuse me, as they go uphill, and they don't have a clear sight of what's going to be in front of them. So they gotta drive by memory. They gotta memorize what happened in the last laps, especially, TJ.
Not to mention as well on this track, as our drivers are currently on their out laps, you have to talk about Ura in this track, which is that exact place that I was mentioning. It's turns 1 through 5. It's the very, very intimidating hill.
Yes.
Hopefully my pronunciation is good on that as well, but it's easily the most famous sequence of corners, I think, on any track in the world. And also, to translate for our drivers, welcome to the preliminary qualifying session. There will be a second session, so if you're missing some of your drivers' names, we will have that your way very soon. But here, there is still a lot of names, a lot of formidable faces here, Lane.
Oh yeah, it's cool to see Prime Casillas back. It's cool to see Cry. These buddies, they were not able to make it into the last GP last week. Not only them, but a lot of those talented drivers. But I also have to mention N80 Racing, also a very, very consistent name during our preseason, especially Austria and Monza, but then not joining Brazil as well. And besides them, TJ, obviously we have those very known names. A lot of those aggressive, strong drivers we've been talking about. So James, Reinforced Seagull especially, Illegal Monkey with some mistakes to get fixed today, but also Yukai. You have Sealed Satir, who's falling a little behind, has some work to do. I would believe he's got potential, but not only these middle pack buddies, let's put it this way, respectfully, of course. We also have the champion of recent GPs, 24K King, a very strong name for today.
24K King, somebody who has earned a playoff spot, but at the same time is not under a lot of pressure. Again, for the racers who've already earned their spots, it's about perfecting your craft. And here we go. On our first official flying laps, contact is turned off. So funny enough, I do believe that is both Cry and Monkey, or maybe even Seagull, who are racing right next to each other. AN80's on their out lap having a slight spin right by the start, so some tough time will be lost there. But again, you'll notice right after turn 1, that right there, the little smoke from the tires, that's because this braking corner is very tough into turn 1 as they all make their way up a row.
Oh yeah, very, very demanding, and of course, involving a lot of traction, especially after the hill when you get into the second sector of the racetrack. So these elements are going to be putting load, putting pressure on the cars. And here we have the chance to check a little bit on Reinforced Seagull, give you more details on him, TJ. Again, he's a very, very strong driver, good guy for getting one of the playoffs spots. I believe in him. He has been consistently finishing in P7. Believe it or not, the coincidence is interesting here. P7 on Austria, Monza, and Brazil, so I'm hoping to see more from him today, as usually he goes well. In the qualifier, he goes better after that on the GPs, so it is his chance today to step up and be with the big boys.
I've had so many fun conversations over in the student Discord with Seagull. I really do not know how to explain how P7 is the magic number. It's very funny. Also, I do want to clarify as well, because it's going to be a key contention point of today. It is a rouge. That is how it is said. I clarified that myself. So now we're all on the same page. And also, qualifying 2 is ready to go. Let's take a look at that, Lane.
Let's take a look at that. Interesting to see some other names that we place a lot of expectations on, especially Doug Jr. This is a player, driver that has
two new players.
What is that? Sorry?
Sorry, I was saying there's 2 new players in this session.
Yeah, correct. Yes, we see the 7-6 and also the Palm Beach, as I can tell. I was just quickly mentioning on Doug Jr. because leading the pack here, he is, and a guy that didn't finish quite well. Austria, finished poorly. Monza as well, made pit stops mistakes in Brazil, so he's got some work to do as well. I think he could step up today, definitely. And aside of these guys, DJ, we also have the big names on Top Racing. We got Ian Hawk over here. We got the comeback from Evan. So I'm happy to see him back on track and racing.
I mean, this is a really good moment as well for racers like Nico, who have been struggling to get back towards the top 5, even the top 10 in some cases, to truly get an idea of how you can contend. I mean, unfortunately, I have heard some news that Ian is actually sick, so I'm not very sure what the racing level of Ian is going to look like today, but there is a lot of racing left to be done. This qualifying session is 15 minutes for a reason, and Doe Jr., currently the person who we are spectating on their hot lap, but we're not going to see any major times just yet as they are all getting started. As you can see in the top right, every driver is defined by their name, their platform, and their sector. and their time as well, which you will see live update as they pass across. But with these two new racers, we're just going to go with 765 as the name. We'll make it easy on both of us and only do 3 of the a million numbers that are on that side. And then also you got Palm Beach, which that is, of course, a school's racing account. So a lot of hidden identities in these drivers. Are we expecting anything crazy out of the newcomers?
We could see them stepping up, definitely. I want to see new heroes, new narratives, as always. But again, they're going to have to fight for one of those spots if they ever get canceled by one of the top drivers once more, TJ. That has been happening consistently over the last weeks. As we said before, 3 guys, for instance, in Austria got the spots in the playoffs, 2 guys in Monza, 1 in Brazil. So it's kind of, tightening. It's getting tougher and tougher for the remaining drivers in this occasion. But I want to see them trying their best. I think they got potential. I want to see these buddies definitely working hard and paying the hard work and, doing the hours that they need to do. And in this lobby specifically, I want to see more from Joseph. He's a guy that we always talk about a lot, got a lot of potential, has not been able to finish so nicely the last 2 GPs especially, but he could do a better job today, absolutely.
A 145.9 was the time, and Joseph smashes it. The first major lap to come in over on the Q2 session was a 143, and I didn't catch that last digit there, but a lot of racers driving at 143 right now. So things looking pretty good across the competitiveness. Not to mention everybody gets to finally be back on their soft tires on a very nice, sunny, and dry track, and a very beautiful one at that. But no need, dude. The shock factor, he brings it every single week, a 142.8.
Oh my, look at what he does. Already in this session here, the leader of the season, super steady, and also catching up podium spots for the last 2 races in a row. He is ready to be one of the strongest drivers today. I'm absolutely sure of this. Also mentioning that the last race and the last occasion, TJ, we were here, he went for an overcut strategy when it comes to going for the pit stop. I want to see if he's going to be repeating this today, because as we know, Spa, Francorchamps GP, usually it's better for the undercut since it's longer, but let's see how this is going to play out.
I mean, again, a 142.8.
It's amazing.
That's an incredible start from No Need Dude. And also, Squeaky Hardware is going to set a pretty decent time. It's a 143.4, but it'll work out for the time being. We're also going to check back in over on, I believe, the second qualifying session. Joseph sits at a 143.3, so you mentioned him. There's a lot that we're expecting Joseph to do as somebody who has shown they can be a contender with the likes of Top Racing, with the likes of No Need Dude. And speaking of Top Racing, very similar to the last prelim quals, they have not even made their way out of the pits yet, just taking their sweet time, letting that track get warm.
Yeah, like you said, a dry, beautiful, shiny day, and also perfect for them to use those soft tires. We're going to have a very, very important role later on our process here. Not only, of course, talking about qualify, but the GP itself. And finally, we may have some changes here. Let's see in the case of these drivers already out in the pit stop box. Let's see if any of them, are going to be bold enough to change the scenario. I was expecting to see potentially a medium, but it's okay. The softs have been part of the prelim sessions and qualify lately in our season.
We're getting a great view of Doe Jr. entering the pit lane, taking a nice little break. But another driver to watch out for is going to be Ian, somebody who, just like Joseph, has been at the top, granted a little more at the top in previous races, but has still struggled to try and find their way consistently up there. I mean, just for reference, Ian finished P4 last week, It was actually a different placement. I'm reading it wrong. Correct. Ian finished P8 last week, but did have a penalty, which did drop him. I believe it was 2 places. I have to go back and look at the math. I'm sure you have it next to you, Lane. But regardless, these drivers, it almost feels like it's less about how fast can you drive at this point when you do have racers like Top Racing and No Need Dude who will set the pace. But can you actually survive a race? Can you not ruin the car? Can you not get a major penalty? And Spa, it's a pretty demanding track with a lot of very side-winding type of sections, especially right here in Sector 2.
It is very, very demanding, and it requires that patience that we talked about in Brazil, especially as we see Ian Hawk spinning a little bit, losing his grip, and it's funny to see that on the softs. I don't know what happened. Maybe he kissed too much the curbs, but TJ, he's actually at the right moment to do that. He needs to understand how the car is going to go and how he needs to get adjusted for the GP. But Ian Hawk, just to mention quickly, did so nicely on the Austrian GP, obviously, where he locked himself into playoffs, and then in Monza he was the top 2, but then falling a little bit in Brazil. After getting a P5 on the qualified in that occasion last week, he went for a P8. So I don't know how he's going to be looking at this racetrack today. Hopefully with a little bit more of lucky, because he needs to keep working, as we said before, into the playoffs.
We will end up going back to the mainframe in just a little bit, but Top Racing has now officially... Oh, I guess we're going to go for it now. Top Racing has entered their outlap, and I got to see this race time. I got to see this race pace from Top Racing before we do go check in on the other qualifying session. In the meantime, you are going to see Mile making their way right around the track. So far, actually shocking me fairly well. Currently sitting at a 144. I don't do the math in my head exactly. It's a low 144 on 3-lap old softs, so you got to respect that.
Yep.
And also Doe Jr. a little bit further behind, but they are figuring it out. And Top Racing will now officially enter their first lap attempt.
Yes, finally getting there. We're gonna see how this is gonna roll. We have the image here on to Mile Proto, also a very, very promising good driver that we've seen more from Monza GP and also Brazil. Let's see how he's gonna perform today. You're mentioning those time gaps as well. Some of the buddies close enough, especially up to the P3 here, but then we have of course a wider difference from P4 on. Palm Beach still in the pit stop, and some of these drivers again to show a little more, especially from now on. And on the case of top racing, excuse me, TJ, let's see how it's gonna be recovering that time, because it is a very, very good driver on that matter, right? Recovering and diminishing and melting that difference up ahead from him and his opponents in this case.
Based off what I'm seeing on the bottom right side, it looks like there is a black dot by the name of Top Racing who's making their way around Sector 2. And I do hope that our lovely observer does make the change to go over and spectate Top Racing's lap, because it looks like it's pretty fast based off my mental clock. Also, Evan has DNF. We did witness his crash very slightly earlier as another driver was making their way around, and that's unfortunate for Evan, but they are going to make it to the GP. So now, finally, here comes Top Racing, making the final 2 turns in a row here, going quite wide. We'll be able to hammer it down the gas pedal. A little bit of lag as well, but that final time is a 1:42.5 lane.
1:42, amazing time. He is back again on the top after winning Brazil GP, doing a very, very good job here. Fantastic, super fast lap. Again, the issue here, the matter is whether you can take this and take it all to the GP itself, but he makes it into the top again, and again, it's going to become a very, very tough opponent to beat. Joseph is close to him. We see less than a second in this case. Over here, less than 7 minutes, TJ, for these guys to finish the session.
Just 7 minutes left to go, as now we can re-enter our lovely mainframe, as Bear Light, who is not here for the day, unfortunately, has coined it himself. I would love to zoom in over on Q1 as well, because we do see Illegal Monkey making their way all the way up into P2 over there. It is a 1:43.2, so it is a very competitive lap, but No Need Dude still a decent ways behind Top Racing, but they're coming out for their outlap as well.
Oh yeah, they're coming out, and No Need Dude again to keep the momentum, keep his name on the top. Illegal Monkey having a chance to also step out. We have James in the middle of the spot. So these guys, yeah, showing a lot of qualities. The repeated names from the last weeks are again on the top, leading the packs here. It's gonna be cool to see how they're gonna be playing and doing their best today in the GP, as we begin to see some of these times very, very similarly getting sealed up. And TJ, it's interesting to see that we didn't have DNFs right in this session here, so a bunch of these guys in good conditions apparently.
I mean, it is qualifying, so I would hope that the drivers aren't entirely pushing it to the limit.
Correct.
And save that for the race, just because you need to make sure that you can actually get the practice in on a track where you're going to be going downhill a lot, as Monkey learns that the hard way, touching a little bit of gravel. You go uphill, you go downhill, you go back uphill, you go back downhill, you go back downhill again. That is Spa right there in a nutshell. As right now, you'll notice that almost this entire first half of Section 2 Sector 2 is downhill. And Monkey, from what I'm seeing in the top right, seems to be on a good pace. We will be able to check that right when they bend this corner right here. Moment of truth coming up on a minute 20. It looks like they are 5 seconds, actually, ahead of their previous time. So maybe no major improvements for Illegal Monkey. And it looks like the Squeaky Hardware has pitted, but has kept on the same 5-lap old soft tires. An interesting call and potentially a mistake there, Lane.
Yeah, let's see how that's gonna roll. Potentially a mistake. Just quickly on Legal Monkey, it's interesting to see that he was telling me earlier today that he set himself obviously for the wet, set up for Brazil, not so confident, not doing so great, having some struggles with the understeering and feeling the pressure again on some of the exits on the lap. So let's see if he's gonna be better today. He needs to do better for himself, looking at the season, of course, and I'm hoping it is the case for him today, as we see again the 2 qualifying sessions rolling at the same time, TJ. And it's so cool to see how everybody's going for the softs to try them, of course, to feel them on the track, and then change for potentially mediums and hards later on in the GP.
It's a beautiful sight to see 22 extremely talented high school racers on the national scale from all sorts of areas coming together to put this car on the track and just let it go flying. And so many of these racers are able to do more than just simply press down the gas pedal. They are artists in their own right. Trying to work an Formula One car around a track is no easy achievement, even with some of the settings that are turned on for these racers in game. And you can see that difference here on the timesheet. I mean, Top Racing, again, a 142.5, very clearly the favorite right now, as Ian Hawk has actually gone, sorry, I'm going to cut my thought. Ian Hawk, 0.001 in front of Joseph. That is a 1,000th lane.
That's absolutely nothing, as we see Hawk, yeah, going forward, trying to catch up onto Top Racing. But yeah, minimal difference, absolutely nothing here, which opens the spot for Joseph to be aggressive and try what the best he can do here. And Ian Hawk kissing a little bit of the grass zone and area, but back into the main standard line, using a lot of those curbs again onto this curve. And it's cool to see Ian Hawk, yeah, at his best and trying to be aggressive. He had a down point, actually, TJ, in Brazil, but it still holds the top 4 in the overall standings of the season. So it is a very strong driver always.
Still holds a playoff spot as well,
correct,
I believe, from the very first regular season week.
He does.
So for Ian, I mean, there's a lot to talk about in terms of their expectations. And we talked about it earlier in the broadcast as well. And so far, they are matching directly up to that. So we are going to keep watching here in Q2. We will have to check in on Q1, hopefully at the very end, but here comes a very contentious point in the qualifying sessions. Your lap times coming out of the pit lane, including warming up the tires, you're probably looking at almost 2 minutes of lap time. So you'll see 5 drivers have all entered out in their out laps, and we'll be getting 1 more hot lap in. But those drivers who are currently pitting, who are currently on an out lap, this is their last chance right here. There is not enough time to make this car, no matter how fast you're driving, wrap its way all the way around the track. And so for Ian, this is their final lap. I'm not sure if they're going to pit or not, and they will. So Ian's run in qualifying is done. It is beautifully at Q2 as I think that's a slight bug. I don't think their car took any damage, just a slight little connection error there. So Ian is perfectly fine. Joseph is on their out lap, and they're going to have to book it around the track as well, but almost every driver on their out lap. And you can see in the bottom right corner, things are getting pretty tight. And also in Q1, almost every driver has actually wrapped up and finished. And it looks like Noni Dude will be in Q1 heading into the prelim race.
Yeah, as strong as always, super trustful and doing an amazing job. Very fast laps over here. Him and Top Race in the 2 biggest contenders, I would say, for the season so far, with other drivers having to get closer to these buddies. But interesting to see how he is steady again on Q1, and also Top Racing in his case here on the right side of the screen doing the same, and these drivers trying to do their best. They had a taste, right? Now they're gonna be all in the same lobby. It's gonna be great to see how they're gonna play out.
Well, might as well zoom in on the final qualifying session. Many drivers are still trying to make their final pushes. Joseph, again, on that outlap. I'm not sure if they're going to make it around the track in time, but Mile trying to improve very heavily on brand new soft tires. And as they come around the last few turns of Sector 2, we will get a chance to update in the top right and see, are they going faster? No, it is a second 0.3. So we'll have to see if they are able to gain more time than that. Also, Joseph did make it around the track in time. Both Nico and Ian also just entered their hot laps. I'm not sure if they're going to make it at all. Also, Nico is on mediums for an interesting qualifying reason. I'm sure we'll have answers there. Saturn going to finish up their lap time as well. But again, for Mile, I don't believe we're going to see an improve or any sort of improv, as it's going to be pretty awkward here at the end. Does not improve at all. Will sit at P4. Joseph, though, I would imagine going by 0.001 in terms of improvement is an easier job, but not here at Spa.
Not here at Spa, definitely. And on the case of Mile Proto, a little bit of a twist, a spin, a quick change on the size in the end of the last chicane in turns number 18 and 19. Very, very challenging because they totally changed her apex on the out. So he had a tough time to keep the car balanced nicely so far at P4 anyways. But it's still a different when it comes to looking at the top 3 guys. Again, complicated turn here at the P7. So good job by Mile Proto. Yeah, you know, doing better time after time. I love to see how he progresses after the weeks.
Well, it looks like our final standings, unless Joseph is able to whip anything crazy out, I do believe this is all that we're going to see in terms of the top 10. Obviously, with Evan having a tough DNF moment earlier in this race. I don't see where Joseph is on the map just yet. It does look like it is one of the purple dots making their way around the final corner. So before we hop back into the other session, I do want to see how this ends. And it looks like Joseph did not find any major improvement. So in terms of your final qualifying placements, I do believe that this will be the standings. But, Lane, we don't really have a lot of time to waste. Let's go back out to the mainframe, because this session, this race week, we have a formation lap. So let's zoom in over on Q1 itself, and let's see what the drivers have in store. During the formation lap, drivers will not be allowed to overtake each other. Drivers cannot crash. It is solely a lap where you get to manually control your car and warm up these tires, and then it's off to the prelim races.
Oh, yeah, it's cool to see finally them together and having the chance to feel the track on that different matter. Also, having the opponents close. And as you said, no overtakes. It is a chance to feel one last time how you're doing that day, how you're going to go for the GP, as we see these drivers again having another chance. It is another opportunity for them to get their best. We're taking a look here on board with James, the guy, the top 3 from the last week, and today also obviously try to get to the podium once more. Clean, no need, dude. Always very, very focused, always very steady on the pace and on the turn, especially, TJ.
No need, dude. Again, you can tell, just trying to get those tires as warm as physically possible. Every driver, since you don't have to worry about hitting each other, you get the chance to really push these softs to the limit. Also worth mentioning is that, yes, the track is more demanding on the tires. Yes, the track is longer. But with these races specifically, I do believe it is 11 laps for the prelim races. And again, you do at least guarantee a spot if you're top 11. I'm not sure if that 12th person will get in. I think there's only 11 in the other session, so that won't matter. But regardless, the strategy points will be very heavy today because of how demanding Spa is. But without further ado, we are here live in Belgium. We'll see the lights reset. DRS will be disabled for the first lap, as well as collisions. We'll see 5 red lights. We'll follow No Need Dude into the very first turn of Spa.
There it is, we are underway. Here we go in our qualifier, our main qualifying, with all of them together, the strongest, of course. Since the last session, we see already No Need Dude falling a little behind, falling to P4, suffering from a very early, strong beginning by Illegal Monkeys, Quick Hardware, and 24 King.
Well, No Need Dude has dropped 3 places immediately, and Siegel has found their way up. Jakai as well. You'll notice that all these drivers disappeared. It's because they are all directly next to each other. There's 5 drivers that are invisible for us right now. So in the meantime, Illegal Monkey does lead and does have a decent margin, but you can't tell exactly what's going on, as there's now 4 drivers who are close together. Now in the meantime, it looks like that they're starting to space out. Illegal Monkey has gotten off to an incredible pace. Squeaky Hardware only about 3/10, 4/10 behind, and it does look like that maybe a driver potentially spun. It does look like it was actually Sater and AN80 who had a tough moment back there. They have now fallen deeply behind. But here you can see from Jakai's perspective, things are getting tight already. This is the racing that you pay to see.
Oh yeah, so aggressive since the first seconds. I love to see the aggressiveness and how well Illegal Monkey jumps into the leadership. Squeaky Hardware is having a hard time in some turns to make that difference smaller, but again, he's also cutting the time. As we can see, he's totally there, and right behind him, a very also talented driver, and 24 King. We're gonna see those battles rolling on, and especially from P5 on, we're gonna have a major difference. Of course, Jukai ahead, going of course through Cry and also James, but let's see how that's gonna roll here. TJ, very exciting beginning on to lap 2. And let's see if Illegal Monkey especially is going to have the mentality to hold up to the leadership. It's not the case. I just jinxed him because Squeaky Hardware passes.
Well, they are very close together. You can see it is within hundreds, and it might just be within thousands as they go all the way up. Arouge here, a very legacy-branded corner for hopefully what is a legacy-branded race here in the Formula STEM Esports Cup. Illegal Monkey will retain the lead for the time being, but Squeaky Hardware is extremely close behind. Also, collisions are about to be turned on for many of these drivers, so you got to be careful to be ready for that, as almost all of these turns are under decently heavy braking or very long, wide, swinging places where you can continue to gain speed, as we can see it from Siegel here, who they were trying to keep that speed, but has actually lost it. Dropped 3 places almost since the start of this race. And in the meantime, No Need Dude has gained a place on 24K King, and as I say, that does not. Also, Siegel goes off into the gravel here in front of your screen, but we'll hop over to Hardware's perspective here in this oddly greenish yellow purple type of car, but hey, art is a form that is subjective, so we'll see if Hardware can maybe translate some of that personal form on the track. And so far, holding off 24K King and also trying to close this gap to Illegal Monkey quite well.
Oh yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. Less than half a second. Also, 24 King very steady, very strong in that pace. Illegal Monkey behaving at his best. I think it's his best showing so far of the season. We know it's just a qualify. We tell you guys from home, of course, that too. But remember, you have to, build that mentality as well. Sometimes it takes you time. It takes you a qualifying session for that, and then you can transport that into the GP up ahead. We are heading into the lap number 3, and we're going to be seeing those collisions and also the DRSs. All of that's going to play an essential role here, TJ.
Those final few turns here at Spa, there is so much time to lose, and you can tell from Monkey's perspective, it's hard to keep that time, and now Hardware has taken very nice advantage from turns 1 through 5, and now will currently decide to hold the lead. Actually, sorry, coming up on turn 5, but that DRS is on, alive, and well, and not only will Monkey use it, but so will 24K King, as they all make their way slowly into Sector 2. These drivers are really burning rubber around the corners here, and are all staying within arm's reach of one another. I believe this is the closest that we've had more than 2 racers throughout the entire season. And also, No Need Dude, not too far behind, but slowly dropping some time here through Sector 2.
Yeah, No Need Dude, seeing these buddies up ahead of him, and they are aggressive, right? They're so aggressive. I love to see how, thirsty they were for the results. 24 King, Squeaky Hardware, and Illegal Monkey. They were not in the podium in Brazil last week, so they're chasing it. They're on the tail of each other. As you said, minimal gap distances between them, and it's going to be beautiful to see that in the GP as well.
Also, I have to mention Jakai is doing beautifully well right now in this prelim heat. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with the format of the Formula STEM Esports Cup, all these drivers need to do to guarantee a spot is to finish top 11. Now, granted, we'll have to look and see how the other session is doing eventually, because if they have 12 racers, and that actually means that one driver will be cut. And speaking of being cut, a very wide turn that 24K King will actually recover. But because of that, here comes No Need Dude now, who has sat in P4 very comfortably after losing the P1 spot in the very first few turns. And now we get to see it from 24K's side. I mean, it's honestly probably for the best of the group that we don't have to see their rearview mirror, because those drivers are hot on the tail. Pedal to the metal all the way up Arouge here. And 24K King is slowly closing that gap. Will get the DRS here. Gets to make a very long run. But Hardware, look at the gap they had already built. This DRS is not going to affect much at the end.
Listen, 24 King is an amazing driver on the long straights. He is a sprinter. He takes down that difference. He did that in Brazil versus Top Racing. No one less than Top Racing. We can see on the main one on that occasion, on the main line, especially from turn 15 to the first again. And here spinning a little bit. Of course, it is a tough portion. The turn number 9, it's very, very tricky, but he gets himself up ahead into the following sweeping section of 10 and 11 to keep chasing Squeaky Hardware, as he has no need to passing him slightly. They are all together here, TJ. Very exciting qualifying session.
No Need Dude was trying to make that move stick, but our lovely observer has now decided to look at another fight. It is Mao fighting in the middle of the pack here, who's got a decent gap between Seagull, who is very surprisingly struggling in this prelim heat. They will make the GP, but in P9 lane, I didn't have Seagull down that far, not to mention just how competitive the other drivers in the other qualifying session will actually be. But we do get to check right back in on our main form here. 24K King has actually fallen back a decent margin. So Squeaky Hardware and No Need Dude are finding very decent time in not only the beginning of Sector 3, but carrying that speed all the way through. So now for Squeaky Hardware, a lot of questions have to be answered in about the next 3 to 4 laps here. You do have to pit at least once because it is not a 5-minute race. And in the game, that is simply the rules that you have to follow.
Correct.
So when do you make the decision to switch from the softs to the mediums? I mean, you can't go double softs. That is also not allowed. You have to switch your tires at least once in every single Formula 1 24 race. And now when you know that No Need Dude could potentially be a faster driver than you based on qualifying and also based on what we're seeing right now as they pass into P1, when do you make that pit stop lane?
Yeah, in the case of Squeaky Hardware, I would say he's a very, very strong and fast driver, especially in short and dry racetracks. And I say that because we saw this happening in Monza, especially Austria as well. In Brazil, you know, other factors were in motion. Obviously, he finished top 6. But again, he's a very confident driver when it comes to using those medium and hards. I would say he can somehow overcome the lack of grip that we have on those compounds, and it's a very, very talented driver in the end of the day. So I'm eager to see how he's gonna be making that happen, especially.
Well, we do have some slight updates, which we're going to switch over to the other session in just about 30 seconds to a minute, because this right here, there's a lot of action to cover in this session. We'll have to try and check in towards the end, but the other session is actually about to start with the formation lap. So in the meantime, we will leave this race where it's at, as many of the drivers are slowly starting to space out. I don't exactly know if our qualifying 1 session is ready, or sorry, qualifying 2 session is ready to go. I'll let production update me on that, but we'll have to see how can Top Racing and their side of things compete here on Spa. And we do have confirmation. They are loading very soon, and that's actually great because the timing here, 3 drivers will all decide to pit, and No Need Dude, somebody who has constantly made the decision to bet on themselves to stay out longer than every other racer, they now get to be taken to the limit, proven to the test, trying to find the bar of their car once again.
He loves to do that. Stay longer with those compounds and obviously observe the opponent. So maybe that's the same strategy he's using here that he used on Brazil, in the Brazilian GP on that occasion of last week. So I want to see how he's going to be dealing with that. And not only this, DJ, but No Need Dude, he's a very, very strong driver to recover that time. We talked about this on the pre-show again. He's a leader now, 8 seconds versus Cry. It is an eternity for Cry and James to especially try to cut this off.
So now you witness all of the drivers who are formerly at the top have decided to take their pits a little early. But you will also notice that Mr. No Need Dude here is on the mediums. We haven't gotten to see the tires of these racers the entire time, as we have only gotten to see their position changes since the start on that left side there. That's the point that I haven't even noticed. Also, 24K King coming out of the pits did go from the softs to the mediums, which makes perfect sense. No need for the hards when you're only about to race about 4 to 5 laps. So now I do believe, based on what I'm hearing, that we are ready for our other session to go check in on what's going on. So we'll go back to the mainframe. We are in the formation lap, and let's zoom in over on Q2. Lane, there's a lot of storylines to focus on in this session.
There's a lot to talk about. Here we're having Top Racing and Ian Hawk. These guys just, of course, checking their tires in this occasion and making sure that everything is set and good to go. But like you said, a lot of names stepping up. Let's see how they're going to be playing. This is the formation lap, and we have up ahead leading the pack, Top Racing. going for it, and of course, trying to keep that spot, trying to keep the quality also today.
So I will pull up the results from this specific session. This is the second qualifying session. Top Racing had a 8/10 gap between the rest of the racers, which for those of you who are at home and don't watch Formula Racing, you may think that that is not a very tough margin. It's only a second, but Top Racing is the current fastest lap holder out of any driver who has showed up today to race. But even bigger than that, Ian was only 0.001 ahead of Joseph. So once these drivers do make their way all the way to the end of Sector 3 and get on the grid, that battle should be a treat. Also, Top Racing is on the mediums to start, while Ian's on the softs.
Yes. Oh, man, that's going to be so cool to see Joseph getting more aggressive and Ian having to hold the positions as well. Let's see how the tire is going to also play a role. We saw 24 King using the mediums in the end, lastly, when we had a chance of checking the other section. We have, again, the strategies or possible race strategies when it comes to tires and pit stops. The guys begin to go to the pit stop, or excuse me, to the grid positions in this case. And TJ, I'm super excited to see all of them combined and together because they're mature, you know. They have absolutely gotten like better since the last weeks to now, so it's going to be exciting.
Well, without further ado, this is going to be the second. Well, oh, I take it back. I would actually imagine we're going to see a reset of the lobby. We might want to go back to the mainframe for the time being. We'll have to get that formation lap restarted. We will see if those racers do get to race. It actually looks like it has been fixed, so I take it back. Let's actually go back into Q2, because Spa, another race intro for us here, Lane. We're going right back at it again, and Top Racing and Ian are already very quickly off to the races. Every single driver cutting it very closely in that first lane. You'll see a little bit of lag, but it doesn't matter as we enter Eau Rouge here. Ian and Joseph are already neck and neck once again, but Top Racing has got to watch his back, and here come all the drivers.
Oh, yeah. There they come, and Top Racing has got to take care because Ian Hawk is so aggressive. Less than 1 second of difference, of course, from P1 to P7, so all of them can make things happen. The magic can roll as we see Top Racing losing. Oh, what is happening? He's dropping so fast.
Slow down in Sector 2 here on the intro, and that is just simply dangerous. You can't lose that much time, but I'm also concerned, is Top Racing potentially... Did he damage his wing, maybe, on that very first turn? I'm not sure if we missed it, but in the meantime, Joseph is already making their move. And not only to mention that, but Saturn has jumped 4 spots into P3. And there is still a lot of laps left to go here. And Top Racing's back up into P2. What in the world is this chaos we're seeing, Lane?
What is happening? He was, a little bit down. We couldn't see any kind of spins or collisions. But of course, collisions are not activated yet. So I'm assuming he had some delays, some slow happening somehow, but back he is into the top 3 to try to make into the time again. And for Joseph, again, that mental challenge, that mental toughness of keeping in the best positions, but he's already pulled to the back positions by Top Race. It's going to be quite a battle. We see them fighting for each one of the turns.
We've made this joke on broadcast many times throughout the season, is whenever you put drivers like Siegel, Ian, 24K King, and Hardware together, they tend to be the most dangerous group of drivers out of anybody that we have. They always seem to bump each other. They always seem to crash a little bit, but still, they all stay alive somehow. But for Joseph, none of those drivers are here in this session. So for once, I actually believe that we finally get to see Joseph at their true race pace. But speaking of that pace, Top Racing is pushing almost a 2-second gap to the rest of the grid.
Yes, it's going to be challenging for Joseph in this case. Just quickly mentioning that he usually has some spins and collisions. He didn't do so well, as we know, in Monza and Brazil. He had collisions with other drivers, so it is a matter of seeing how steady and, I would say, stable Joseph's going to be able to be. He is the leader, but he's getting contested at all seconds, not only by Top Racing, but also Ian Hawk, as we get to see Joseph rolling again and into the leadership, or trying to do so, because Top Racing is up ahead.
Drivers going wide here. You see a lot of shrapnel and car parts flying in the back, and I also believe Doe Jr. took a spin in the gravel as the yellow flag was temporarily deployed. But for the rest of the grid, they will continue to speed their way around the track as those intervals continue just to get wider and wider. Mile is actually very close on the back of Ian here, as you can see on your screen. And also Ian finding a decent amount of time on the back of Joseph here, who is that car right in front here. It's going to be very close coming around the last few turns here. They are completely neck to neck. Here comes the potential move from Ian. Will they decide to go inside? It looks like no. They're going to go for the better line. We'll be able to cut it right back in. As Top Racing, you can see there, is very comfortably ahead. But as the drivers are settling in, and also we'll see Nico pit early, let's go back to the main frame here and see exactly how both races are doing. You can see that Q1 is almost done here, Lane.
Yes, Q1 almost finished. We can see that No Need Dude again also leading in that cruise kind of style. We also have Tweaky Hardware stepping up. So the same drivers that we've been talking over and over again on during the season, these guys are stepping up and doing their best and are chasing their chances as Illegal Monkey falls a little bit compared to the previous session, but it's still in the top 3. So it's cool to see all these drivers together here with now a better chance to check out the details. TJ, we have this turn number 9 being worked out or upon by Squeaky Hardware, and Jukai, excuse me, is going to be kind of a new name, try to make it into the leading pack.
I mean, it's funny that they rhyme. Jakai and Cry have actually been very, very impressive in this race so far. They 100%. Are drivers who normally in the prelim quals, they have been noticeable but have been quiet in the GP. And so before we do get to that GP in about 30-ish minutes, here in the prelim race, they look great. Jakai and James are fighting with Cry. 24K King is being held off by all of them. Mao and Siegel are also behind them. So not only is Jakai and Cry finding their own space and room, they've got a very decent gap as well. So we are going to stay with this group of racers right here until the very end, and we'll see if No Need Dude, as we enter the very final lap, can make it happen. Squeaky Hardware's POV and Monkeys as well is what we'll watch. And also a point to mention, Hardware, extremely comfortable in P2. Just has to try and maintain that gap and not spin or crash. But that middle of the pack lane, look how close it is.
Oh man, it's so close, isn't it? It's so cool to see how it's going to change in a matter of seconds. Yeah, like you said, we got especially P5 to P8, I would say, all close together, all passed very much together. And on the case of Squeaky Hardware, just to mention quickly, has been suffering also on the out laps, you know, going twice as a punished or as a driver that suffers the penalty because of lane excessive speeding. So it's going to be cool to see how he fixed that, how he adjusted that into the racing. Because, you know, when it comes to playing and driving with the big guys, there's no margin for mistakes.
One of the big things that we missed as well was No Need Dude's decision to pit. We don't know what lap it was, I would imagine, because we were spectating from lap 10 towards the end of lap 9. I do believe that No Need Dude must have only gone one lap extra before deciding to pit and was still able to retain a comfortable lead. I mean, you got to keep in mind with these last few laps, they are still pushing a second and a half in terms of the timing, and it looks like the No Need Dude is almost about to lap another racer. So very, very talented race so far. A very nice showcase is what I was going to say next for No Need Dude. And Squeaky Hardware looks to be a true contender as they will try to clinch a playoff spot when it's all said and done today.
Yes, and it's cool to see that strategy on the side of on the hands of No Need Dude when it comes to stopping just once and late in the racetrack. Let's see if he's going to be fast enough to build that margin, that edge, so that he can go for the overcut. I want to see so much from No Need Dude. He wins this session over here. Squeaky Hardware comes right after him. Not a lot of changes, of course, when it comes to these final spots or positions here, TJ, because the guys are pretty much spaced out.
No Need Dude once again will come home a preliminary race champion. They are dominant when their half of things is in question, and we'll have to see how Top Racing and the company can do over there. But also Jakai comfortably in P4. Perfect. Monkey and Hardware sit in the first 3 spots as AN80 has taken a nice penalty there at the very end trying to cut some time. But this right here is going to be your final standings unless Prime finds a way to spin out or something wild. But it does look like it's another successful run for the side of No Need Dude, and we'll have to see how they do in the GP. But they are going to have to wait, because as we throw it right back out to the mainframe, let's see how Q2 is doing.
Yes, Q2. Now we still kind of halfway to go. Let's say top racing still leading the pack. We got Joseph. Not a lot of changes on that top 3, especially as Ian Hawk also completes the pack. And I love to see those time gaps as well between them. It is of course the chance and the case, especially in this case of trying to learn about yourself, adjust to the track. I'm sure they're pretty much heated up already for the GP today, TJ. It's a cool opportunity. It's going to be a cool opportunity actually to see them in a longer race in this matter. Of course, the lap time is longer, as we know, but 1.42, it was an amazing time by Top Racing. I want to see these guys doing all of that in the GP.
I mean, who knows, right? But let's zoom in over on Q2, because
Correct.
the action only seems to get better throughout our time here, throughout our night, as it looks like we're going to have a long one, because the safety car is back out once again. Many of these players' final bosses, their menaces, it's back out. And Top Racing will get to use this opportunity to pit early. They were originally on the medium, so it is going to hurt their strategy that they have to pit early. But for Joseph and Ian, this is beautiful for them. They get to go from the softs to the medium. So for Top Racing, they are going to be tested very early on here with the safety car, and once we get to the end of this race, we'll be on harder tires to manage. So we'll have to see if Top Racing actually makes a bolder decision and pulls out the hards instead, but you'll notice everybody is pitting and changing their strategy lane.
Everybody going pit, and let's see how they're going to change and to which compound they're going to be actually going to exiting the garages. And yeah, the hards could come out. I would love to see that happening, and the mediums definitely appearing and coming up occasionally from the last sessions to now. Let's see how those positions are going to change, as well as I would expect to see more when it comes to grid positions, in this case from Nico, from Doug Jr., even again back to the spots here, and Saturn as much. Let's see how they're gonna be rolling this last portion here, TJ. Our very much second qualify in this case here. Interestingly, now with Joseph in the leadership.
One of the more interesting points about the way the safety car works here
Correct.
in F1 24, it's weird, because the safety car, I believe in real Formula 1 racing, they get to work based off of time in terms of how long it's out on the track. But in game, it is by laps. So here on an 11-lap race, the safety car normally tends to stay out for about 2 laps time, unless there's another reason to delay it. And here on Spa, yes, the track is longer for those drivers to catch up, but I wonder, will the safety car stay out depending on if drivers like Doe Jr. and Nico don't catch up by the time that we get all the way around, or are they going to leave them behind? I'm not sure exactly what the game is going to do, but it's an interesting point, Lane, because that extra lap of slow tire warming racing is a big difference in Top Racing success, because they had to switch tires and change their strategy early.
You're correct. They can absolutely catch up to Top Racing, but Top Racing is very strong at getting back his spot again. But I'm going to keep at your topic. I think the safety car, the virtual safety car, as much from the last season to now, as we saw, they could change the landscape. We already see those time gaps sharpening and getting closer and closer. So it's going to be, again, an opportunity for Doug Jr. and Nico. These guys, we've seen them struggling and fighting the last week. I'm hoping to see them closer to better spots, as we know more from them, of course, so we're more entitled to comment, let's put it this way, as we move forward into the GP. But Evan doing very, very nicely today as well, staying into the middle pack, and of course sensing the racetrack itself, TJ. So it's gonna be cool and key for them to keep that momentum.
Well, without further ado, the safety car does seem to be staying out as we cross through Sector 1, the beginning of Sector 1. So now I wonder, will the safety car have a place to go in on a different section of the track? And again, you can see it on these drivers. You've got to be careful about what do you do, because Evan just right there collides with Saturn and will gather a 10-second penalty. These drivers have had a safety car in almost every race this season, and it seems like they never learn, Lane.
It seems that they never learn, and on the case of Evan, happening again and again in many occasions. He faced penalties, into the preseason, and also he was out on lap number 12 in Austrian GP. So keeps making those mistakes. And of course, now it's time to kind of adjust that into the GP, but you cannot be making those mistakes again and again.
Well, safety car, once again, does seem like it's going to stay out for all of lap 7, which is a pretty dire change in terms of what maybe Mr. Ian Hawk and Joseph were expecting. But also, what's interesting is that Top Racing, it doesn't look like is holding on to P1 after pitting. So I'm not sure if that is a game bug, because by the rules, Top Racing should get to return to P1. And also, not to mention that Top Racing pitted earlier as well. And also, Lane, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Joseph did pit as well, correct?
We're talking about Joseph having gone
under the safety car first lap. I believe they did.
I don't think so.
Maybe they must not have, because Mile and Joseph get the P1, P2 spots. So now that throws an even bigger wrench into the plans, because Top Racing and Ian, I know that for a fact, they did pit. But for Joseph and Mile, if they did not decide to pit, wasting 2 laps away here where they should be getting to use those tires, it's going to be tough to translate this into a decent top 3 finish.
Absolutely, you're correct, and I do think he didn't go for the pit stop, given his positions lately not going so much down, especially after Top Race going to the pit stop. So let's see if he's gonna go for a really late pit stop strategy, as he did, as we know, in the beginning of the season, betting and gambling on those old tires. But he's gotta go anyhow, so he's gonna lose spots on that occasion, as we know. Mile Proto here stepping up and enjoying that close time versus Joseph, as the guys go real slow, to be careful for not colliding in this occasion.
Well, now that the safety car is coming in, all the drivers must retain their positions. So what I'm confused about for Top Racing is that they have to get back up to their spot, but they're also trying to slow all these drivers down, or else they're all going to get penalties. So whenever the safety car goes in, things are going to get real interesting, as it looks like the safety car will enter the pits here. All the drivers will come all the way around and start a fresh new lap. We are all green flags here in the last 4 laps. Yes, that is correct, of Spa here over in Q2.
Yes, we saw Saturn a little bit in the gravel now. And for Top Racing, you know, he's going to be mad. He's going to be totally mad on the guys if they don't allow him to get back into the first position. It's not going to be the case, because we are back on the full speed, as you can see, and as you told TJ, the safety car going into the pit stop area. So it's going to be cool to see how the guy's going to be holding Top Racing. He's going to be trying to jump those positions. And, you know, ahead of him, he's got no easy task, because Saturn and Ian Hawk are very aggressive.
For the very first time in either one of these racers' careers here in the Formula STEM Esports Cup, both Saturn and Mile are going to be in very nice spots to potentially finish this race in the top 3 spots. But again, because we didn't get to take all of our complete casting notes, we don't know who pitted and who didn't. And also, Ian has now gotten a time penalty after multiple track warnings. So that, another race, another week in a row, Ian is going to take a penalty that could potentially knock him off the podium places, even if it only is a prelim race.
Once again, right, he's always facing those situations, Ian Hawk. Again, he's in the playoffs, but facing many casualties so far since preseason. Let's see how he's going to deal with that. Not only him, but even, as we can tell by the display here, the leaderboard, we see Saturn now getting chased by Evan in this very much moment. Let's see how things going to be rolling. That lap number 8, out of 11 to finish things off. We saw Saturn falling behind, and Evan, going wrongly here, is spinning out.
Well, not only does he go wide on that turn, letting those tires spin a little bit, but he also manages to do it at potentially the worst spot on the entire track. I mean, that right there, he had to wait and completely kill his car's momentum, and then had to turn all the way around and then get on the gas. So that's a lot of time lost, and I know for Saturn, you needed that. That's a lot of time now. But in the meantime, Top Racing and Mile and Joseph are all neck and neck. Mile does fall back a little bit, but you can see right here as the wonderful cameras camera sweep does go around, that Joseph is speeding around this track. But look at all those cars piled up here.
He seems he's a little slower. He was a little slower on that previous cam, but an amazing job by our observer to show the broader overall picture in this case. And we see still this battle happening. Joseph trying to catch up with Top Racing. It's going to be beautiful until the very end. And on the case of Evan, just quickly spinning on that very last chicane was very, very unlucky and unfortunate for him. But we still keep our eyes into the main battle between Joseph and Top Racing.
Not to mention that Ian just lost 2 places after going off the track. Make it 3, 4 places all the way down into P8. So that right there, whatever happened over in Sector 2, a nightmare fuel type of scenario for Ian. But everything is opposite over here as Joseph makes the move down the inside. Top Racing will then come back around through a little bit of lag and make it stick. And all the drivers will go flying around here in Sector 3 as there is only 3 more laps to go. But that timer in terms of you earning a top 3 spot, it's ticking pretty hard, and Mile, who is already losing time, will not get any DRS. So for Joseph now, who will try to get into that DRS zone in the last dying moments, I wonder if they can increase that gap, and can Mile actually hold that gap? I'm not sure yet, Lane.
Yeah, I'm not sure too. Let's see how they're going to be battling until the end because it seems so close. But again, we have these beautiful changes on the cameras to show us all the perspectives as Joseph just steps up on the toughest spot to do that, right? Overtaking versus Top Racing, that uphill after the turn number 3. So he was able to get back on the leadership now. Moving ahead, Joseph, and it's absolutely nothing when it comes to the gap time between Joseph and Mile and also Top Racing here, TJ.
I'm not sure what it is with Top Racing's car, but something is wrong with the downforce. That car is not sticking nearly as hard as it should, moving all the way up Eau Rouge. And really any of the inclination chances or any of the inclination at all on this track. It's not surviving that altitude change, and that's something that they're going to have to look into on their side, as Top Racing is still very close. Will end up passing Joseph, as again, we do apologize with the slight lag, but these racers are working with their own internet setups. But it does look like now the drivers are very close together. Top Racing is slowly falling behind, and again, it's lagging like all get out. I believe Top Racing is very comfortably ahead without any DRS, and Joseph is now trying to do the same, but to Mile. But Saturn and Evan are very close together as well, Lane.
DJ, Top Racing today seems a little slower than usual, like we were seeing, but he's so fast at catching up to the opponents that we can almost not see that element, you know, all combined. So all those elements all combined in this case. But it's interesting to see how he's still fighting so well as opposed to nicely, and especially versus Joseph in these very last moments. Last lap over here, Meyer Proto doing his best, showing again on the season. Saturn trying to catch as well, and Evan nicely trying to recover from the penalty, but it's a very, very punishing penalty. I don't know if he's going to go much further than that.
Akaruki is also DNF'd on the very last lap, so a DNF in both sessions, even though both drivers will make it to the GP. In fact, every driver that you've seen thus far will make it to the GP, but it is all about the bragging rights. It is all about showing that you know what you're doing, and for Joseph, I mean, this right here is potentially the best chance all season for them to potentially earn a playoff spot and really show to the world what they're all about. As the drivers make their way around Sector 2, Top Racing will still comfortably hold on to the lead here entering the final lap, but also, again, Saturn and Evan are within 3/10 next to each other here, and you can see all the drivers coming around on the backside of Joseph, and I guess by all, I mean just Mile for now, but we'll have to see how that fight ends up, because here in the meantime, we are almost making our way into Sector 3, and who is going to be our preliminary race champion here in Q2?
Oh yeah, we're going to be seeing Top Racing definitely catching that spot, and Joseph doing so well, so nicely again as well. Meyer Proto finishing on the top 3, very well deserved. It was a clean race by them, of course, in this qualify session here, TJ. I wouldn't see a lot of changes, especially when it comes to positions, unless we could have seen like different stuff and crazy situations rolling in front of our eyes. But Saturn, props to him, right? He was so much behind on points and positions, especially, and stepped up to the P4 in this occasion again. And yeah, doing so great. I want to see more from him into the GP.
Coming across the line, Top Racing is your winner here in preliminary race number 2, and Mile earns a P3 spot. And here comes everybody else. Saturn will remain in P4. Evan did not serve his penalties, so he will drop drastically from P5 down. Nico and Doe will take their spots. Ian still has yet to finish after a tough race and a tough penalty, but that right there is going to be your final 10 in this session. And Top Racing does what he does best, and that is dominate.
Dominate and win. Yes, in this case, the qualifying. Again, an amazing and fantastic performance by him. We have the driver of the day being Saturn in this session. So good job by Top Racing. Good job by No Need Dude. The leaders are again leading here, and Top Racing again at the top of his own racing with potential new contenders, some new names stepping up. Let's see how that's gonna keep rolling.
Not just any new contenders either. We're talking about contenders who are struggling to find major P5 level points. Joseph, who sits at P9 in the standings on the season. Mile, who isn't even in the top 10 right now, and neither one of those drivers actually holds spots in the final playoffs. While in the other session, both Monkey and Hardware don't have spots of their own as well. So a lot is going to change here, but whenever you mesh all the drivers together and you put them in a GP session with one lap qualifying, I mean, anything could happen, Lane. We could potentially welcome not just one, maybe 2, maybe even 3 new playoff clinching drivers today.
That's what I'm hoping to see. 3 new names, of course. We want to see the leader drivers steady and stable, but we also want to see the new heroes. And some of these new buddies are going to be definitely doing so well today. I want to see more from Nico, Saturn, and some of these guys that we mentioned, quickly from the sessions from before to now. So TJ, is going to be amazing to see the GP rolling. A lot of those names all combined is going to be very frantic.
Well, for everybody who had just joined the broadcast towards the end, welcome back to the Formula STEM Esports Cup presented by Brightspeed Internet. My name is DJ TJ. Next to me is my lovely co-host, Mr. Lane X, and that right there was only our preliminary races. That was just to determine the overall qualifying times and confidence and who is actually going to make it to the GP, which based on some disconnects, it will actually be everybody who we watch will be in the GP. It'll be 22 racers, unless there's a few that we missed earlier. I don't believe that is the case. So 22 racers, Lane. I mean, we're going to go to break in a second here, but it's going to be as chaotic as every living week has been here in the Formula STEM Esports Cup.
Oh yeah, it's going to be intriguing and exciting, truly exciting to see all of them together in this dry weather, finally for some of them, again here into the Spa-Francorchamps GP.
Well, we do, once again, before we go to break, I must thank our friends over at Brightspeed Internet. New Brightspeed Fiber is here, the ultra-fast internet that lets everyone in your house stream, game, and overall do more. Don't settle for slow. Don't settle for unreliable. Switch to Brightspeed at go.staypluggedin.gg/Brightspeed-April. Once again, that is go.staypluggedin.gg/Brightspeed April. Go check that out as soon as you can. And thank you to Brightspeed for your involvement in the Formula STEM Esports Cup. It has been incredible front to back, and I only can hope, Lane, that the action will continue. But in the meantime, we've got to get all these drivers back in the pit lane and ready to go for the GP. It should be chaotic, it should be beautiful, and it will be everything you can imagine and more. It's been Lane, it's been DJ TJ. Don't go anywhere.
Ah, come on. Come on. Before I switched to Brightspeed Fiber Internet, things like slow speeds and random dead spots really brought out the troll in me. I mean, I spent hours causing trouble. But then I switched to Brightspeed's fast, reliable fiber internet, and the rest is sunshine and unicorns. Looks amazing, Barbara.
Ultra-fast, Brightspeed fiber internet. Switch to the bright side.
Welcome back to the Formula STEM Esports Cup. My name is DJ TJ. Next to me is my wonderful co-host Lane X, and we are back to Spa de Francorchamps, and it is going to be a very tight, very contested, very long race of endurance here, Lane.
It's going to be about endurance, mental stability, and toughness, of course, between the drivers, and let's see how things going to roll. It's going to be so interesting to finally see the GP, right, TJ? My wonderful and lovely host today. We all miss Bear, of course, right? But we're doing our best here today to bring this excitement and, yeah, see how the driver's going to roll.
Well, in Bear's absence, something tells me that the chaos and the action will not leave the Formula STEM Esports Cup. It has continued to be incredible, and we also thank our lovely friends at Brightspeed Internet for helping us out. But the race action is right around the corner. Our players are currently making their way into the lobby and laying the storylines that continue to be built throughout the Formula STEM Esports Cup have been incredible, and we are already halfway through our regular season.
It's amazing to see how these drivers are changing from, of course, GP to GP. The weeks go over and we see some new names. We also see some of the leading drivers to showing their qualities. You're absolutely correct. From week to week, we are enjoying the most we can of these drivers as we are ready to go into the formation lap over here.
One shot qualifying is all that stands between you and your future here, as 24K King took a tight spill on the gravel there and already drops down to P4. But even more interesting than that, Lane, look who's at the bottom. Top Racing. I don't know what happened. Maybe a controller/wheel issue. I mean, they said they have a wheel, so we're going to go off of that. I don't know what happened, but Top Racing looks like they may be doing the last to first challenge.
Yeah, they're facing a lot of difficulties today. Not their best day. Apparently, Top Racing. Let's see how he's gonna be catching up to Lonely Dude. I know he wants to be at the top. He needs that for his own, of course, strength, and of course for his own self-confidence over the season. And we see, of course, 24 King trying to catch to the leadership positions here. We see also Squeaky Hardware. A lot of those guys are gonna be doing their best today.
I mean, No Need Dude and Hardware look incredible. Also, James has bugged out of the session, and there's your final time. 1:42.5 for No Need Dude. Just when you thought he couldn't match Top Racing, he says, take that.
Take that. Oh my god, again a leader, a strong contender, and catching the P1. A lot of nice names there. We're gonna be seeing them into the grid positions here. And man, I don't know what happened to Top Racing. I'm so curious to understand exactly what role today, as we have Squeaky Hardware catching to the leadership. But what, Top Racing?
Oh, Top Racing
2?
actually bugged.
Okay.
He actually was not last, so he will be second with a 1:42.7. Wow.
Oh my, there he
That's
is.
big.
Yeah, both of them on the 1:42, like you said. So very much amazing time in the lap here. And yeah, man, what a situation. Saturn falling so much back. Yeah, I was hoping to see him a little.
Cry too.
Yeah, cry. Yeah, you're correct. Doug Jr. So that's gonna be the back pack. Let's put it this way: that are gonna have to do the dirty job here of try to find spots in a very complicated traffic situation right at the beginning.
I mean, the door is now wide open. Squeaky Hardware, Joseph, Illegal Monkey, those are all three racers who do not have secure secure championship spots. Not to mention that all of your other contenders, like James, who sits at P5 in the standings, they're down the list. Ian Hawk, P8. 24K King fell down to P6. It's really just No Need Dude and Top Racing who will probably go head-to-head once again. So now we'll have to direct our attention towards that fight for P3 and who is going to be our next guaranteed playoff competitor. But Lane, it seems like we are going to get a nice calm entry into the race because, again, a reminder for all of our viewers at home, this is the first time there is a formation lap in our race.
Oh yeah, and there they are, ready for those moments of course warming their cars up. Let's see how this formation lap's gonna roll. TJ, and as you said, some of these guys already very much known by us, but some others trying to step up. Speaking Hardware, especially Joseph, Legal Monkey, and 24 King. But I would say also Nico Biko on that top 7, and most of them using the soft, some going for the mediums. Let's see how that's gonna roll.
Top Racing pulls out the hards. Ooh,
Yeah.
I love it. It is a direct opposite strategy from our top 2 championship leaders. This should be a thriller of a race to see how it works out. There is only 15 laps here at Spa de Francorchamps. So in terms of for No Need Dude, I'm intrigued to see how long can those softs actually be pushed. I believe they took them 9 laps last time. But for Top Racing, how long do you want those hards to work for? I mean, we have yet to see somebody use the hards. Also, that little screen down there in game will tell you that you should pit around lap 7, but all these drivers were able to push their tires even further. So with Spa, with the talent on the track lane, there's going to be a lot of variety today, potentially the most we've seen all season.
Oh yeah, honestly, I want to see how those compounds are going to be changing the landscape of the GP, because man, a lot of softs, and as you mentioned, No Need Dude going for those softs, gonna have to push them until the potential 10, 11 laps. I don't know. He's gonna force those tires, 4 tires already. We can say that at least, to see how the opponents are gonna be making decisions, and then No Need Dude's gonna go for their overcut and then the change on the tire. And Top Racing risking, a little bit of that gripness, let's call it this way. The grip on the asphalt is going to be not ideal for him, but again, he's a very talented and strong driver, and going already for the endurance. That's very exciting.
I mean, Top Racing, I think, very aware that they are one of the best drivers on this grid. Yeah. And I believe that they're making a simple bet. They believe that they are faster on the hards than everybody else in this race, but No Need Dude. And so, in terms of those 2 racers, Top Racing's respect for No Need Dude, it must be through the roof to be equipping the entire next ladder, not just the very next ladder of tires, but the next one after that. So a lot of respect from both these racers. And No Need Dude, the bet is simple on themselves. You must simply go fast. As again, I do believe we're going to see the same bug that we saw before, where the drivers will respawn. They just got slightly disqualified because they passed the front line. But without further ado, our 4th regular season race will welcome you as the lights will go red across the board. And now as we approach our halfway point of the season, we enter Spa de Francorchamps. It is C'est la vie, but to the track and the asphalt of Spa, what will it be? No need, dude, quickly around turn 1, but Squeaky Hardware has a lot to say about that. After a great start, starting from P3, they are already up into P1. 24K King has now jumped multiple spots. Top Racing has fallen, and James has completely disqualified here, Lane. I cannot believe that. That is your 5th overall point earner gone already.
Gone already. Oh my god, a lot of expectation on how he was gonna do after getting qualified last week for the playoffs, and off he is. And we see Top Racing striving, fighting so badly, but dropping so quickly too into the P14 in this case. Squeaky Hardware doing it fast and catching up with No Need Dude. Legal Monkey goes in the same pace. TJ, what an amazing, exciting GP so far right off the bat.
Monkey as well on the medium, so as many places as Monkey can grab from P5 is a win until they have to pit. So this is big for Illegal Monkey's chances at earning a playoff spot. But for Top Racing, something is very, very wrong. I believe it must be an internet-related issue or something along those lines, because I'm not sure what's going on. Top Racing, we are going to see if they have been kicked, will be invited back. I'm not sure if we're going to get a restart of the race or not. I mean, Top Racing being in P2, I would imagine that it's a decent topic for our stewards to try and figure out. But at least for the time being, we'll settle in to lap 1 and treat this like it is going to be the original entire GP. And the entire top 5 is less than a second apart, Lane.
Oh yeah, amazing to see Joseph. Yeah, within those 1 second differences. Oh man, let's see how that's gonna roll in the second lap now. Joseph fighting so hard to be close to Illegal Monkey. And it is their time. They're sensing that. They're feeling it today. And I can see these guys almost reaching the podium in the end of the day. But they're going to have a conversation on this with No Need Dude, with 24 King, with all of those beasts who are going to be doing their best as well as we go uphill here after turns number 3, 4, and 5 on Rouge. Let's see how Joseph is going to be dealing with this next set of turns, the very challenging chicane here from 5 to 7.
DRS has been activated as of lap 2, and driver collisions will be activated very shortly as well. So now the true test of the racers will be here. As you can see, there is a lot of speed on this track. This is the closest that our grid has been top to bottom ever in a race, as almost everybody is within a few seconds of one another, and all it takes is one spin, one crash, one mini little gravel trap for a driver to shake up the entire order of the grid. And also, No Need Dude, we expect them to be dominant. They are our current points leader. As Top Racing, we hope we'll be able to get back into the race in time to gain some places, but with only 15 laps, I mean, the objectives are easier than normal. Yes, you do just have to hold your positions or make up as many places as possible before you pit, but with the extended track length and the lesser laps, it's not as easy as you would think.
It's not as easy because you're going to have suddenly to deal with the fact that you got a smaller overall racetrack in this matter. So it is a nice, interesting balance to get done. As we see, Squeaky Hardware, he's so close to No Need Dude. He's trying so hardly, so badly to catch up to him. And in this case, we see a very, very good time by No Need Dude. Not as good as in the qualifying sessions, TJ, of course, 3 seconds apart, but it's still a very, very good amount of time for the leadership.
I mean, it is almost impossible to reach the qualifying pace just because of all the fuel in the car. So for No Need Dude, he is still pretty dang fast as is. Only being 3 seconds off after starting on cold, soft tires, it shows just how ready they are. But Squeaky Hardware is not going to let this fight go. He may just be able to find a move here. No Need Dude will defend the inside, but that means that Hardware gets to carry all the speed through. No Need Dude losing ground. Drivers are pushing their cars to the limit, and No Need Dude will retain their place for the time being. Squeaky Hardware is going to get the inside, though, finding time, hard on the gas pedal. Will be able to sweep right back in, getting dangerously close to the ghost of No Need To. Does take a little bit of gravel, but again, these collisions, they're turned off for the time being. So these drivers, they can continue to just race as is, and Hardware taking full advantage of that.
And I'm sure No Need is not happy now because the last thing he wanted to see now is a very strong contender, an opponent right behind him, because he wanted to make that choice, when it comes to compounds, lasting longer. So I don't know if he's very happy now, but Squeaky Hardware doesn't care about that. But his time is slowly going up as well, so not sure if Squeaky is gonna be able to keep so close.
I mean, Hardware took a slight trip into the gravel, and that did cost them it will be 7/10 as we get to the final few turns here. Meanwhile, Illegal Monkey and Joseph are going dangerously back and forth as they enter the final few turns of this lap number 3. But as we do come around the line, No Need Dude is slowly breaking the toe that Squeaky Hardware once had on them. And all it takes is to be more than a second away, and that DRS line, that chain, is broken. So for Squeaky Hardware, they're going to be stuck in a pretty dangerous spot if they do lose that slipstream from No Need Dude, because that means that then Joseph and Illegal Monkey will have all the time in the world to slipstream off of each other and work together to potentially not only climb into playoff clinching spots for both of them, but maybe even to climb into P2 and P3 respectively. I mean, Illegal Monkey on the mediums being this high up on the grid, who knows what could happen? Their strategy call is the best so far.
Yes, and Illegal Monkey is looking so solid today as opposed to other exhibitions. I like how he's been aggressive and at the same time altogether being very steady and stable. Medium compound so far, which means that he's going to be able to last a little longer than a defending No Need Dude and also than an attacking Squeaky Hardware so far. So those first 3 spots, especially TJ, could change in a glimpse of time here.
Down the grid, all of the other medium tire selectors as well are having their fair share. I mean, Mao and Saturn, funny enough, are not only battling each other, but are battling Ian, Doe, and Siegel, as they are all within seconds, potentially even less than a second, of each other based on what we're seeing with Saturn, Mao, and Doe. They are actually within about 5 to 6/10 of one another. Mile, on the other hand, being in P8 with the medium tires after starting over in P12. That is another story to watch out for. Mile has had a great race here in the first few laps, but we are already about to encompass our first third of the race. Here comes lap number 5. Monkey is gaining some time, but 24K and Joseph are still going at it. No Need Dude as well takes a very tough turn. Squeaky Hardware is not only going to gain some time, it's going to look like it's actually going to be 3 to 4/10 of time. So No Need Dude, a very rare, uncharacteristic mistake, and Hardware should get DRS here.
He's feeling the pressure. He's feeling all the pressure, all the competitiveness coming from behind his mirror as we take a look at 24 King in this case, going for it, trying to chase Joseph. And those spots are so close when it comes to the gap time. It's going to be amazing to see those twists in positions and spots. Again, trying to go for his best layout here, the best apex he can get after the turns. So 24 King trying his best, and of course we're gonna be seeing a little while the pit stop window, but here very fierce fight for the turn 9.
All 3 drivers other than 24K King right on your screens here are fighting for playoff spots, not to mention the points they're fighting for as well. I mean, especially when you talk about the seeding for the preliminary races in the playoffs, it's going to be the points that determines that based off what we've been told. So it's going to be really interesting to see how in these last 3 races, including this one, what is the outlook of who are going to be our major contenders, who are going to be our dark horses. And so far, Illegal Monkey, easily the most notable one of them all, but even more noticeable than that, all 3 of our medium drivers are all together in the middle of the grid, and Ian has fallen from Grace all the way down to P16, and Top Racing has made their place up 5 after rejoining the session after being disconnected earlier. So that entire back half of the grid, the storybook is not closed by any means, and not even to mention how P4, 5, and 6 look. They're going to stay close this entire lap here.
They are, yes. We're going to be seeing a lot of changes, especially from P3 to 5. And as you mentioned, these medium compound tires, guys, are going to be all going up together, potentially, depending on how well they're going to be preserving the resources. We have a look here at 24 King again going uphill and trying to battle for this best and first spots. Of course, he's fighting to keep his quality up ahead because he's already into the playoffs. But we know that Joseph, Illegal Monkey, and Squeaky Hardware are going to be fiercely fighting until the very end. As we see now, Joseph trying to get close to Squeaky Hardware. Doing so good. I love how Squeaky Hardware is being very much focused today.
By the end of their prelim lobby, Squeaky Hardware was a 2nd and 4/10 away from No Need Dude. Well, No Need Dude has now, without the help or any slipstream of any driver, has almost recreated that gap only 6 laps in. No Need Dude's race pace has to be studied, Lane. He continues to impress, and Monkey has found their way up into P4. Joseph, Nico, Jakai are all together, and 24K King has had a moment. He has fallen off the track, and he will be all the way down into not only P10, but continues to fall into P11, P12. That is a major contender who has now lost the potential playoff qualifying spot. They didn't need it anyways, but the points as well, something worth noticing, as Siegel and Top Racing are climbing together with 24K King on the back of them all. Those are all 3 extremely talented racers who are uncharacteristically placed below P10.
Correct, and you know who's happy with this? Oh, Nico and Jukai stepping up. Here we go. We have Nico going for the P4.
Whoa,
as we have Joseph going pit stop. Interestingly, let's see to what he's gonna change. Joseph, lap 7, going for that change on the tires. Hards, there we go. Joseph, yes, gonna go for the endurance now. I just want to quickly mention as well, TJ, that before that we saw on lap number 5 Cry going for hards and Doug Jr. on the lap number 6 going for hards as well. So it seems to be the trend over here.
Siegel will also pit, and you know what that means, Lane. That means that Siegel, and it most likely will be Joseph, won't be too far apart on the grid when they all eventually make their way back to each other from everybody else on the grid who has to pit. And if those two get together on the track, we're in for a safety car almost guaranteed. So for both their sakes, we'll see if they can keep their placing or their pacing away from each other and their placement. But in the meantime, we check in on the rest of the grid, who has not decided to pit, but in the next 3 laps, I believe everybody will make the decision to pit, especially the drivers with softs. And with Monkey, I'm intrigued to see what is the strategy call that they make, that Mile makes, that Mao and Saturn make. How many more laps after the drivers of Hardware and No Need Dude are you confident in going? Can you outpace them for an entire extra lap, or do you pit the lap after, Lane?
Correct. So when it comes to Squeaky Hardware, for example, strategy, we remember from Brazil GP, he went to the pit stop, on laps number 10 and 24. So he was spacing those tires in that occasion. So I think he rewatched the last stream. He's kind of repeating the calls from No Need Dude. He's saying, okay, I'm gonna go for the overcut. I'm gonna prolong the most I can my resources to try and battle for a better grid spot, especially.
Here we go. The entire front of the grid will make the decision to pit together. An illegal monkey, even though they chose the mediums, will not opt to go for the extra lap. So made the decision to go on longer lasting tires, but won't take advantage of it. Now, granted, it won't matter because all of the grid is pitting. You're going to see a lot of moving faces here, Lane. And so for all the viewers at home, we'll try our best to translate. But Top Racing, it looks like, will be in P5 after making the earlier decision. How about P4 ahead of No Need Dude? And for Top Racing, who has not decided to pit yet, even with the early disconnect, when is their moment going to be? Because you're still going to be behind a decent amount of the grid unless you can gain the time needed to cover a very long pit stop here at Spa.
Yeah, I think Top Racing, betting correctly, maybe going for the pit stop around lap 11, or 12, pushing those tires the most he can. Let's see how far he's gonna be able to keep that quality and that momentum when it comes to keeping that speed. Because as we know, the tires are old, so he's gonna get challenged at all times, especially by Squeaky Hardware from now on. And I love to see those mediums coming out, the softs dominating the beginning of the race, and now we begin to see those mediums to actually bring you the balance between the endurance and the grip.
Everybody on the grid has pitted other than Mile, Mao, Saturn, and Top Racing. So for all of them, a big judgment call is about to come up here on lap 8 or potentially even lap 9 is, are you fast enough on this lap 8 while all the other drivers pitted to make it work? And for Top Racing, I would believe your goal would be to stay as close behind No Need Dude as you physically can, get the DRS that you can, and just try and gain as much time as possible. That way, whenever you do pit, you're not going to fall drastically down the grid. pit, because you could see, Lane, on the side, these drivers are all very close. I mean, on the map as well, you can tell. It seems that the entire top 10 is within, I think it looks like 5 to 6, or it's 10 seconds total, maybe from 1st to 10th. But in terms of the rest of the grid, they are all within a mere few seconds of one another. As Saturn decides to pit, he is the first of the last 4 drivers to make that call early. Mile doing a great job, holding a very decent gap to the rest of the grid. I would imagine they're going to pit soon too, as they just lost 2 seconds to Mao and No Need Dude. And also, No Need Dude and Top Racing are cutting their way through the grid. Not to mention that Hardware, Joseph, and Illegal Monkey, after spacing out just ever so slightly, will now have to fight for the rest of the race to try and earn a playoff spot.
They're gonna have to fight hard, because you know what? Mao and Mile Proto, these dudes, they are like one-stoppers, if I can put it this way in English. They both have stopped just once at Monza GP and also Brazil GP. So they just go once, and yes, that's enough. Let's see how they're going to be managing that competition coming from the back or from behind. But I want to see them in the top. I think they have all the capacities for doing that today. But we also have to talk about No Need Dude and Top Racing, nicely and fastly enough recovering their spots.
No Need Dude has already made their way up to P2. Top Racing is still fighting with the pack up in the top 4 spots, and now will finally pass Mao. Yes, as you could tell, Top Racing is having some big internet issues. They did lag out in the very first 3 minutes of the race, hence why their AI driver was all the way down in P18, right in front of James, who disqualified early. But fighting that internet fairly well. It's the element of esports that nobody talks about, really, is that, yes, these drivers are ultra competitive, but they gotta fight pretty external elements than just themselves here. And now, here comes the moment of truth. Mao, Mile, and Top Racing have all decided to pit. Where will they come out as all the drivers make their way around?
Oh, yeah, let's see how that's gonna roll. Top Racing going for the mediums, Mile Proto for the soft, and Mao for the soft as much. So I want to see if they're going to be able to catch up into the top. There's something we need to mention in previous sessions, especially last week. Top Racing and Joseph, for instance, stopping at the same laps. But you can tell the difference after what happened. Top Racing going for the leadership, Joseph not as much. So, of course, pit stopping strategy matters, but also the quality of the driver, how he's feeling on that very day. As we see Legal Monkey going hardly here versus Quickie Hardware. These guys battling nicely.
This is your fight. This is your heavyweight bout that you will witness for the rest of the race. It is No Need Dude, Monkey, and Hardware. And now we're in a very bold spot where for the first time all season since the very beginning, there may be 2 racers who clinch their spot in the playoffs. Again, the only drivers who have spots right now is No Need Dude, Top Racing, 24K King, Ian, James, and Nico. So for Monkey, Hardware, and Joseph, they are all in beautiful spots to potentially make something happen, but it's mainly between Squeaky Hardware and Illegal Monkey, who are on the same tires, on the same lap count, pitted at the same time, within less than a tenth of each other, and will be using the same DRS off each other for what we hope is the next 5 laps. We've got a real test here, Lane.
It's going to be a test of patience and, of course, of focus for them, especially in the very end of the racetrack. As we know, right here, turns number 18 and 19, so challenging. Your car can just spin out. You have to keep the focus in your car and your opponent. And let's see how they're going to be surviving to this. It's going to be so exciting, this late portion of the racetrack here, the GP on Francorchamps. We have Joseph passing by, trying to catch up with the buddies, but it's going to be tough for him. But eventually, TJ, who knows? Everything can change in a matter of seconds. Joseph could be looking into a potential spot into the podium depending on mistakes or collisions, looking into the Leaky Monkey and especially Squeaky Hardware.
Mile and Top Racing, who also pitted together and switched. I'm surprised Top Racing didn't pull out the softs, but is now on the mediums. Won't be as fast, but is slowly closing in on Mile. But Mile, who was very impressive on the start, jumped, I believe, 4 places after their original P12 qualifying place into P8, and then retained that spot, climbed a few spots, and after the pits is P7. Mile won't be qualifying for the playoffs this race most likely, but in terms of points, they have really been a shining star in the last 2 weeks of racing here. But Once again, the fight is only getting closer. Joseph has now managed to cut 2 seconds off the backs of Squeaky Hardware and Illegal Monkey. Joseph made the decision to pit a lap earlier, and it's paying off so far. Those hard tires are hot and ready to go here, and he is closing fast on the drivers in front.
Oh, yeah, he's going so well. As you said, you know, reducing that time difference is going to be great for him. Let's see, he's going to be able to do that until the end. We got 4 laps, and definitely the hards paying off. We see, except for the top racing situation, right? Because we see him with the medium compounds, but it's still quite at the middle pack, not being able to catch up with the buddies again. 20 seconds between him and No Need Dude, not looking so great for him, of course, today. But we keep our eyes on Joseph. I believe another J driver is going to be making it into the playoffs, DJ, today.
We've made that joke plenty of times in the past, but we didn't think it was truly going to happen after the dominance that Top Racing and Noni have been able to set. Speaking of Top Racing, he is the fastest driver on the grid right now with the fastest lap. That will grant him some extra points at the end, but nothing major based off of our rules. But in the meantime, only 4 laps left to go. A caution flag will go out as it looks like a driver has crashed. We're not sure who that is, but they have made it out. It looked like it was 24K King, who has had a very tough race as is. But we must redirect our focus because now Joseph is almost 5/10 away, and it's ticking like a time bomb, less than that, as he tries to close in on 2 fighters in Monkey and Hardware, who, because of their fighting, are really struggling to gain time. And as I say that, Joseph gets a little bit of gravel, so for Hardware and Illegal Monkey, they will continue to be mirror matchups of one another, as they are driving almost the exact same line, making the exact same braking points, and if they can hold this for the next 4 laps, we're in for a treat lane.
Oh my God, I love to see this. I love to see how Joseph has been improving since the preseason. You know, he was so strong looking back into that Spain GP on that occasion, but also struggling on Monza in Brazil, and now doing so nicely, potentially getting closer to Illegal Monkey, as you said. I see the time gap now increasing a little bit, 1 second, 0.2, I would say, and he was just half a second behind Squeaky Hardware or Illegal Monkey in this case. He was so close for him, falling behind a little bit. Let's see how he's going to be able to keep strong and keep steady until the end.
Joseph going very wide over on these last few turns, will be losing even more time than what he had lost earlier, and those playoff hopes for Joseph are fading once again. For Joseph, it's been a season of heartbreak ever since the preseason where he had that spin, and as I say it, it happens like it was scripted. Joseph will fall down 2 places, and now for Squeaky Hardware and Illegal Monkey, it is all up to them. They just need to work together, continue to use their DRS, and they can both make it to the playoffs as long as they can fend off against Nico, who is also cutting down the lap times like a tree.
No way, man. That very long straight section, not even like remotely allowing you for the chance of a mistake, but there he goes, and down he goes, especially. Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Let's see how he's gonna recover on that, from that into the end of the season. But now we gotta take a look at Nico Biko. He's gonna be able to, you know, cut those 2 seconds of difference between him and, of course, Illegal Monkey into the end. Just 2 laps, pretty much tough task over here for him, TJ. Joseph, oh man, that's so sad, but there he is trying to catch up. Not today, apparently, anymore.
Well, we will now shift it officially to the camera, to the onboard of Illegal Monkey. There is 3 laps left to go, basically 2.5 at this point in their lap times, and you can see that Hardware is making some time, but when that DRS zone comes right back around after the first couple turns, things get dicey every single time. Also, Monkey is on a tear of a run here, already up the back of Hardware, will cross right in front, but here comes the toughest braking section of the entire track. Both drivers, once again, it's like we're watching the 2, it's almost like they're clones of one another. They still remain together as Hardware will gain the better start of this next lap. 2 laps left to go. No Need Dude sits beautifully, comfortably in P1, but these 2 gotta fight for playoff spots, and they will retain that once again as long as they stay together. But I'm more interested in the points and the bragging rights. This is a fight to the end.
It's a fight to the end. And you know what? I love the point that Illegal Monkey just did. He said, hey, basically, if you allow me to stay on your slipstream, I'm going to take over. He overtakes now. He passes Squeaky Hardware. Amazing moment for him. Very, very timely, very precise, very steady, making it happen. But there it is. We have Squeaky Hardware back on his tail, trying to fight him off. Amazing magisterial battle here, TJ.
You've got to race with confidence and skill, but also keep your mind in it, because when you enter lap 15 and you get one last DRS stretch, which driver is going to let the other one get in front and then try to take advantage of that DRS, or will they simply put the pedal to the metal and just try and thug it out almost? I mean, for Hardware, I'm not sure what the call is going to be as both drivers make their way on the back half of Sector 2, but that right there is a very interesting point. Monkey takes gravel on that front right tire, and Hardware does get to gain some time. It won't be too much, though. They are still within 4/10 as Jakai makes their way into P4, a potential career best for them, Monkey, Hardware, and Mile, who are all fighting very closely in their respective fashions. But Hardware will have to make a decision here. Do they stay in front and then let the DRS of Monkey just happen and then try to fend it off? It looks like the answer will be yes. Monkey is fighting tooth and nail to bring this car around, but here, coming into the last stretch, they're going to get DRS not just once, but twice.
Oh my. So crazy to see how Illegal Monkey, he's fighting not only versus Squeaky Hardware, but also with the curbs. He's battling. He wants this P2. He needs it desperately. Of course, compared to what he's done in the last weeks, a little bit shaky here, trying to go for this long DRS zone, activating it. Oh man, it's going to be quite a battle. He's going to bypass. There it is, Illegal Monkey again, in front of Squeaky Hardware. It's such a tough battle to see until the end. Those seconds are going to be so minimal.
Within 3/10 of one another is all that stands between P2 and P3, between Illegal Monkey and Squeaky Hardware, two racers who have been fighting all season since the preseason to try and come together for a placement and a race like this, where they're fighting not only within the podium for playoffs, but for an incredible career-defining P2. In the meantime, the gap only gets lesser as Illegal Monkey struggles. Here comes Squeaky Hardware, swinging through, keeping all the speed, but Monkey is right back on the tail, almost at the end of Sector 2 lane.
Amazing to see these drivers battling so hard until the end. It's going to be a very special opportunity for them to be inside of the podium. But of course, Illegal Monkey is not over. He's not done. He wants the second position here. He's fighting until the very end. It is a very nice chance for him to catch up to Squeaky Hardware in his very last left-hander sweeping turn over here. As we see, he's catching up. Oh my, he's gonna come to the end. Let's see if he's gonna be able to do that. Illegal Monkey, oh man, trying the best, but not today, as Squeaky Hardware is gonna be your second best driver in this race, TJ.
Joseph and Mile fighting as well for P5 and 6, but it does seem to be that Jakai, a career best for them in P4. Joseph P5, 24K King will pass Mao at the very last dying seconds of their lap time. Will try to fend off after Mao having a pretty decent race. And also, Top Racing has fallen down to P14, so an internet-led fall from grace for them, but the storyline at the top of the mountain remains the same in the Formula STEM Esports Cup. It is no need dude who is absolutely crude in his racing and will continue to prove that week in and week out. And there is your final grid.
What a memorable day for the new drivers. Yeah, making their chance into the peak, into the top. Squeaky Hardware, Illegal Monkey, Yukai, Joseph, their top showings on the season so far, as you said. TJ, amazing results. And again, no need to, leading the pack as usual. But there it is. We got Illegal Monkey making his way into the playoffs today, as Top Racing was still the driver of the day. Absolutely unstable conditions. Still a very talented driver, but not his day definitely here.
I mean, Top Racing P2 in qualifying. One stop qualifying at that, but the internet takes them out, and they have to remain at P14. So, in terms of the point standings, 24K King will actually overtake Top Racing, and also Ian could potentially overtake Top Racing as well. But Squeaky Hardware, the racer with the most to gain currently sits at P6 in the standings, but with a P2 and a podium celebration next to No Need Dude and Monkey, there is a lot of places that they're going to jump. I would imagine after we do the final calculations, they may jump all the way up into P4, but time will tell. There's your final standings. Look at those lap times. This is easily the closest that the grid has ever been, and we love to see it, Lane.
I love it. Look at No Need Dude's face, right? There he is on the left side of the screen, the winner today. But like you said, man, it was an amazing exhibition by Squeaky Hardware, Illegal Monkey. These guys were so tough. It was such a beautiful battle as well, right? Especially from the middle portion or the last third of our GP today into the end. Very, very much unpredictable. I love to see all those movements and decisions. And of course, they made it into the playoffs. Very much well deserved. I was definitely, betting my coins on them for a while, and especially for today, and they made it happen.
I mean, for the side of Squeaky Hardware, I think it's about time that they guaranteed a playoff spot. They have been right there on the outside, knocking for so long. But Illegal Monkey, I mean, they've also been not too far down the list. I'm not sure exactly. I believe they were in P10 last time that we checked. So a lot of points to gain, and a playoff spot as well, falling down the points leaderboard. You will take it, absolutely. Granted that Top Racing fell out. Granted that 24K King fell out. Granted that Mao struggled towards the end there, who had a great showing both last week and this week up until the GP. The cards could not have flipped any more in the favor of Hardware and Illegal Monkey, and also Jakai just barely outside of playoff qualification, but still massive points being gained in terms of your GP placement if you do not guarantee yourself a playoff spot down the road.
DJ, interesting GP, of course, like you said, when we talk about Squeaky Hardware and also especially Illegal Monkey in this case, they had very, very unstable seasons so far, but still they managed to find their spot here, in a very, very deserved campaign, as you see, especially today, considering all the factors in this dry, beautiful Spa Francorchamps GP today.
Well, before we do send it off, I have to once again thank our incredible sponsors, Brightspeed Internet. New Brightspeed fiber internet is here. The ultra-fast internet that lets everyone in your house stream, game, and do more. Don't settle for slow, just like the Speed April, and thank you to Brightspeed Internet for everything that you've been able to do in terms of supporting Formula STEM Esports Cup. But without further ado, Lane, any last thoughts before I take us out for the night?
Well, it was very, very cool to see this GP today. I was very excited from the beginning to the end. It was lovely to see the drivers fighting their best, and of course new names stepping up since we had some situations with the main drivers, as we know. So TJ, it was a pleasure again to co-host with you, and for the first time actually, we're co-hosting, just you and I here. Bear couldn't be with us today, but it was a pleasure. It was amazing. We did our best, and we're gonna be here back in the next week.
Hey, maybe Bear was holding us down, right? I mean, we got all the content. We got the best the drivers have ever been across the grid. Maybe it's his fault, right? But it's been such a fun night. Once again, it has been Lane, it's been DJ TJ, and make sure that you follow the YouTube and the Twitch, turn on notifications, because next week on Tuesday, or sorry, I take it back. This week on Thursday, the first test session of Silverstone will happen with one of our guest racing drivers. That's at 5 p.m. this Thursday. And then next week, you will see Bearlight, myself, and Lane for the next race day, the second to last one of the regular season. And again, we'll be in Silverstone. It'll be incredible. It'll be beautiful. It should be almost a fitting, close conclusion to the end of the season. And we'll have to see if any more drivers can clinch playoff spots. But without further ado, it's been Lane X. It's been DJ TJ. Have a great night.